tonight, so I can project. So as part of the corrugated metal pipe, what that did is really during the rains, we fared very well during the winter storms, and we had flooding at the golf course, which is in a floodplain next to a creek, so that's where you would expect it was going to happen, and a little bit on Hilltop. But besides that, there was no flooding in the city of significance like we saw throughout the county. A little bit about Measure P. It was used for infrastructure such as pavement, maintaining the residential streets, and fixing potholes. There's other funding that we use from Transnet that does our major arterials, but really focusing on those residential streets that were not in line to get replaced or upgraded. Working on our facilities, we've actually moved 2 fire stations. I'll talk about that a little bit. Replaced the storm drains, upgraded irrigation systems, made essential repairs to a number of buildings. So our libraries, our women's club, what you saw was some new roofs go on, and then just to kind of stop the damage that was happening from holes in roofs, not necessarily a lot of work on the inside of buildings, but really stopping further deterioration of the infrastructure that we do have. Some of the things that you'll see around town, so we're a park, we worked on sports courts and fields. So you see a lot of resurfacing of courts throughout the city. Residential street rehab and repair. Originally through Measure P, the goal was to replace or repair all streets with a PCI of 0 to 25. So streets are rated on a scale from 0 to 100. 100's the day, hopefully you finish it and pave it, and then from there it never gets better, right? It deteriorates. It's an asset that does deteriorate over time. But through Measure P and the funding we've had, we've actually been able to do streets from 0 to 33 on that marker of when Measure P went in and we did this study. So we now again have some streets that have fallen into that 0 to 25 rating, but 0 to 33 was completed through Measure P. And then we've also upgraded the city network. And the way this was again described to me was we can now see people when they're knocking on the window and trying to get into our network because it's secure. And we've actually seen some bad actors trying to get in, but they haven't been successful in penetrating our network. Here's another drainage. So working on corrugated metal pipe and the drainage that happens it. Without it, you will see this kind of damage happen. We've also addressed 7,700 sidewalks throughout the city. So either you can see maybe in the picture on the left-hand side of the sidewalks, that's a cut where they've gone down and they shaved down the sidewalk so it doesn't have that lift. Or if the lift is too great, they will pull out and actually redo the sidewalk. So there's 2 different ways to manage those. To date, we've done 7,700, and we know we have 10,000 more to do of the sidewalks. Also, traffic signals, we've redone 11 signals in the city, making them more visible, so it's changing the way they look, or putting in the left-hand turn signals that you'll see in places you might not have seen before. Each of those projects is about $1 million. For 2 fire stations, for fire stations 3 and 5, we actually moved the location of where the fire stations are. They were very aging stations. But as part of this project, our fire department looked at where calls for service were and where would be the optimal location for a fire station. So as part of that, fire stations 3 and 5 were rebuilt at different locations, and we actually have decreased response times from those stations from moving them. We've also updated the police dispatch center with a new CAD system. It's a critical component of it, and if you've heard our police chief talk at all, there's lots of discussion about our live 911 and the enhancements we've made to the police dispatchers, where our officers in the fields can actually hear the 911 calls now when they're going to, and they can hear the people on scene, instead of having the delay or the information go through the dispatchers. They're able to connect. One of the shining stars is Loma Verde. So it was one of our oldest recreation centers, and it was originally slated just for a rehab project, but when you went in there, it was, I think, 50 or 60 years old, and was actually scraped to the ground and rebuilt. So if you haven't been there, you should go. It has an Olympic-sized pool, a warm therapeutics pool, a splash pad, there's archery, there's a kiln for pottery, there's a gymnasium, there's a dance floor. I mean, it's an absolutely beautiful facility. So that is what we were able to do there. And then at Civic Center Library, we did the roof, and we worked on the restrooms, right? So, but we haven't just let Measure P bring the money in. Our librarian recently was awarded $19.5 million to work on Civic and South Library, so $9.75 million for each facility, to work on a number of projects, HVAC, and just general maintenance, repair, and enhancements to the library. But with that, we can use Measure P funds to address certain things that were not completed as or awarded as part of a grant. So often when we get grants, it's to add or enhance facilities, but not maintain the infrastructure that we have or replace it. So In the winter, you'll see us close Eucalyptus Park for about a year, but we were rewarded a very large grant to add a number of features to the park, which is gonna be great. With that, it was gonna look like a brand new park, but with old tennis courts and basketball courts. We'll use Measure P money to supplement that grant funding that was there, to redo those pieces that weren't covered under the grant to make it look brand new, so you're not opening up a park that is 75% brand new and 20% 30 years old. So we've been able to leverage the funds in a number of ways. On our website, if you just Google City of Chula Vista Measure P, there's a lot of information about what we've done with Measure P, but there's actually an interactive map on our GIS, through GIS, and they've plotted all of our activities that we've done, and you can see the different facilities that have done either at public safety facilities, parks, fields, and courts, energy and water. We moved to one system to use citywide for our irrigation instead of different ones. The public safety, we've looked at storm drains. There's a light purple up there that looks terrible on the screen and very hard to see, but you can see the storm drains or the corrugated metal pipe that we've done throughout the city. So we've actually replaced about 80% of that. There's still 20% that won't be addressed through Measure P just based on funding levels, but we've been able to manage 80% of it. And then these are the streets we have replaced or repaired with Measure P dollars as well. This is sidewalks. It's updated on the screen now, and you'll see the northeast part of the city looks pretty orangey yellow, whatever we're gonna call that color as well too. So we're continuing to do the curb, the sidewalk cuts and replacement. So it's actually updated on a regular basis. So there's a new one out there, so I'm not getting it to you. So Measure P, like I said, it was a 10-year sales tax. It was anticipated to raise $165 million, and it's now anticipated to raise right about $245 million during the term of, during the 10 years. At the beginning of the project, the city actually bonded $70 million out of the gate to do the larger projects as we were gonna begin to take in revenue. That will be paid back through the current Measure P funds that we receive. But the money that was done was actually bonded at a very low rate, and we actually saved money probably just by the escalation of construction costs during the time of that. With Measure P, there's also a citizen oversight committee, so if one day you turn out of being on this commission and are looking for something, we can always use someone on that commission or committee. What that group does is they review the spending that's brought to council of Measure P dollars. They review that it's in compliance. They have an annual report that's reported to council on Measure P spending. And there's a third one that I'm gonna have to push the next button so it's on that on theirs. And they work with the city to identify best practices for tracking and reporting. So it's a member from each district, and then there's a number of groups that can appoint or recommend someone be appointed to the groups. That includes the Chamber of Commerce, ACE, San Diego County Labor Council, Taxpayers Association, Parks and Rec Commission, and the Sustainability Commission as part of that group. So what this does is, right now, we're looking at if we renew the measure, we'll actually be returning to council we're anticipating June 25th to extend this measure for an additional 10 years. And really what that looks at is we've accomplished a number of goals, but we still know there's a lot of infrastructure that's 40 to 50 years old that we need to get caught up so that we can maintain it. With that, we recently did a voter survey last fall, and in the last couple weeks, you should have all received a flyer with a survey to return to the city either or do online. Today we've received about 2,000 responses. 1,400 of them came in yesterday in the mail in one bunch, so someone was holding them for us somewhere, but 600 have been done online, so we're going through those now. But what we found is that really with the initial Measure P, looking at the infrastructure that was here and how do we get up to date on what we have. And a lot of that remains true in what we're seeing from the feedback from residents. The one thing that has been added though is really cleaning parks and facilities and addressing homelessness through the pickup of encampments. So in the current budget that's adopted for next fiscal year, council's added 2 positions in our public works department to specifically clean up homeless encampments on a full-time basis. When we look at a potential second round of this, things we might look at spending on it are another 2 positions so that we have a full crew to work full-time picking up homeless encampments, a full crew to work on parks cleanup, so really another parks crew to do the parks maintenance that we see out there. and then accrued to work on facilities. So we're investing a lot of money into facilities, but really keeping the staff around to keep the ongoing maintenance there. So it's not like we fix it and then walk away from it, or don't have the capacity to maintain it to really keep the value we have in those assets. I got ahead of myself. So these are the things that we're seeing. So again, this would be continuing with our committee that would continue to have oversight of the funds if we were to extend it. It doesn't tax, like you have now, essential purchases like groceries or prescription medicines aren't included in that tax when it's calculated. And it would all stay here until this done. So here's where we are. Like I said, we're building awareness of Measure P. This was actually a presentation that started out for the Measure P Commission or committee, and they said, you need to go share this with people. I think as the city, we're not always great about saying what we do well or what we've done, and so it really is just taking the time to show everyone what we've done with the tax dollars that we've been entrusted with as the city. And that is the end of my presentation. If there's any questions.
Yes, this one right now you mentioned the parks. Crew already. I noticed it's been months or certain things, you know, so I wasn't. If it was like the golf course we had to contact. Right after. I know it's people to like broken fences. There's dog poop everywhere. Maybe putting some dog poop bags on the side of Benita Road. There was trash underneath over by the creek where they just did the bridge. I think someone was probably living there.
Okay.
You know, stuff like that. I had sent because I was like, oh, they'll pick it up and just right out.
Yeah, I'll let them know.
It's been months, you know.
Where
So.
I don't know exactly where the line is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So just
but
thought
yeah,
I'd bring it up.
absolutely.
Same with the park equipment. The zip line is broken. It's a really cool thing. Take my grandkids down there.
At Roar?
At Roar, yeah.
Okay.
And a couple of the swings are also broken.
Okay. We can look at that. And as on Tuesday, we actually brought to council kind of if a measure were to continue, or just identifying the assets that we do need to work on. And in the first round of Measure P, a lot of money was invested into the public safety facilities. But as we look at it now, there are a lot of recreation centers, parks, and fields that need to be addressed. So, for instance, Loma Verde is beautiful, and then Max Field next to it. It isn't a drainage. It has poor drainage. It needs ADA access. There's a lot of that we know needs to be done. So there's a lot of things like that around the city that we know need to be addressed. The really master planning Roar and the golf course all together. Looking at Salt Creek, like the field at Salt Creek that is pretty worn down with patches and it's not level. There's a lot of that throughout the city that we're evaluating.
So if you're looking for input,
Yes.
who can we submit that to? By
Me.
email, or can we go directly to you?
Absolutely. If you want to send it through your commission,
Commission as well?
I will get it. Absolutely.
We were super excited about Marisol Park because they replaced the, I don't know what they call that surface that's
That
underneath the play equipment.
rubber?
It's wonderful.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Makes it a lot safer.
I have a question regarding the flooding that occurred on January 22nd at the golf course.
Yes.
What are the plans to support the storm drainage coming from Central Avenue? I know that they started something on Central Avenue.
Okay.
Will that be kind of, is that gonna be a process where they kind of clean out that whole storm channel?
So we, in the current measure and current funding, there is not funds for natural channel repairs. It's extremely expensive to do it, but as we look towards the continuation of the zone, we identified about $10 million, I believe, $5 or $10 million for natural storm channel repair, because it is something that we need to do. Yeah, and specifically that, it's the pro shop that flooded throughout there. We were out there and some of the nets came down and it was pretty impacted.
Yeah, and it continues, like anytime there's a heavy rain, the
Yeah.
golf course gets engulfed and all that water just
Yep.
comes out, so it's been an ongoing challenge.
Yeah.
And with the rain that came on January 22nd, 23rd, it really, I live in that area, and so it really impacted, like we couldn't leave. Because we were like, the channel was actually like a raging river.
Yeah, it was
was
very
bad.
strong.
And then some of the, anyway, long story short, it's been a long ongoing problem for a very long time, and it just got exacerbated on that day, because there was so much rain at one time. So I'm hoping that whether it's the golf course, the drainage situation, whether it's the channel, whether it's something coming down, like something needs to happen because it's been an ongoing problem since I've lived there.
Yeah, and it is a floodplain, right? That
Yeah,
location.
yeah, we have to
specifically
get
is.
flood
there's
insurance,
there's-
so,
gonna be that, but we look at it and that we have identified the golf course for funds, Rourke for funds, and storm drain, natural channel repair. So
okay.
it's something that's on the top of our mind.
I will say I have noticed the sidewalks, so that's awesome. I didn't know that was part of this, but yeah, the repair was good. Thank you.
In another city not here, my mom tripped on a sidewalk, so.
Oh, no.
It's problematic, yeah. Just
Yeah.
broke 2 fingers are a little wonky, but it could have been worse, but yeah, it can be.
I appreciate that because it's better than cutting down the trees. I've seen some, area where you just cut down all the trees and it's just not good, so I like fixing things.
So the goal is you want an additional 10 years, but you're not raising the tax.
Correct, it would be a continuation of the tax that is currently on the books for 10 years.
Oh, for the half cent.
The half cent, yes.
So to 2037.
Yes, so March 31st, 2027.
If it's passed
If it's passed,
on the November 2024 ballot.
yes. So if you, but first it's going, it would have to go to council and they would agree to put it on the ballot, but.
Okay.
And I will actually bring back, Commissioner Johnson for you, but for everyone, the survey that was sent out, and you can use that to actually fill all your comments in as well. I'll grab some of those and bring them.
Well, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you very much for your time.
We enjoyed it.
I'll come back to this question whenever you want. Thank
You try to be hospitable.
Are you the new IQ?
No, but I love IQ. So, Matt Little is the new IQ.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, I have Parks, Recs, Animal Care, HR, IT, Housing, Homeless Services, so that's that.
Wow, okay.
Bye, thank you.
Just a few.
The next item is 4.3, commissioners to hear the presentation by Community Relations Manager Sergio Martinez on Sharp Chula Vista Medical Center's resources and services. Please let's give him a round.
Hi everyone, and thank you guys for having me here today and allowing me to share some of the stuff that we are working on. My name is Sergio Martinez, and I'm the Community Relations Manager at Sharp Chula Vista Medical Center. I have been at Sharp for about 5 years now, 1 year at Sharp Chula Vista specifically. Prior to this work, I was at Sharp Grossmont Hospital and the business development team, working on development of different programs and different service lines. We brought back this role at Chula Vista after COVID. The person who was here prior to me retired, and we just noticed we realized how important that relationship with the community is in the hospital. I'm officially a Chula Vista resident as of January, so it's been amazing transitioning from where I was before. Some of the organizations that I'm involved with here at Chula Vista, I'm on the board for the YMCA, South Bay Family. We also work very closely with the South County C. I'm also the chair of the Emerging Leaders, which is an initiative by the American Lung Association. It is a group of young professionals between ages 22 to 29 who work on different innovative initiatives to help bring awareness of what the American Lung Association does and also fundraise. And I'm also super close in a lot of the work that the Chamber of Commerce does, as well as putting together our alumni group at Sharp Chula Vista, which is composed of our retired employees who want to just be involved. Some of them come out and do blood pressure screenings or attend different events. My overall goal and job is to make sure that Sharp has a presence in the community by attending and participating in different community events, working with different organizations to provide education and information on different resources to our community. A quick example is during the holidays we partner with a local organization to work through their Adopt a Family program, where we adopt families in all of South Bay to help provide gifts for the holidays. Our staff on campus gets together and each department select a family, and then we go out, buy a bunch of gifts, and then donate to the community. So it's a overall fun event. Next slide, please. One more. Oh, and then I also forgot that at Sharp, we start every meeting with a reflection. Our reflection for today has its own tone for our presentation, so I'm going just a little bit back. Coming together is the beginning, keeping together is progress, working together is success. That's by Henry Ford. Next slide, please. And here are just some quick pictures of the program that I mentioned right in the middle, when we adopt families. On the right, for my baseball fans, that is a picture of Tony Boone Jr. That was a work event that we had with the American Lung Association as we prepared for our major fundraiser, which was a walk at Liberty Station. And then on the left is our beautiful alumni program at lunch at Alexander's. Is it Alexander's? Or it's an Italian restaurant downtown Chili's. Next slide, please. So a little bit about the hospital, just a quick simple overview. Sharp Chula Vista has 449 total licensed beds. 100 of those come from our skilled nursing facility, which is on campus. Sharp Chula Vista is also one of the biggest private employers in the South Bay, with over 2,800 employees, over 400 affiliated physicians who practice on our campus, and over 250 volunteers from all ages who provide over 2,500 hours of support online. We're also in the top 10 decile in patient satisfaction scores, and we recently received a score A from Leapfrog for patient safety, and they look at making sure that we protect our patients from zero errors, injuries, accidents, and infections. And one of the main changes or biggest changes that have happened at Sharp Chula Vista in the recent months has been our transition into Epic, which has been extremely difficult, but epic. But
We've
people,
been there.
but people are truly adapting to it, and a lot of good things are coming out of it. So we're super excited about that. One of the more recent things, if you haven't been to our hospital since 2020, we made a huge investment into building our Ocean View Tower. It opened its doors in January of 2020. 2 months later, we received our first COVID patient, so we opened it just in time so we were able to serve our community through COVID. That tower contains 6 new operating rooms, 96 private rooms, 10 intensive care suites, and then also a beautiful rooftop cafe with healthy dining options for patients, guests, teams, and our community. Next slide, please. Now, diving a little bit into growth. As any other organization, growth is very important. We are always looking for new ways to better serve our community. Some of our current growth initiatives include our Barn Heart Cancer Center, our Center for Women's and Newborns, our Emergency Department Transformation, and our expansion of our Community Resource Center. For our Barn Heart Cancer Center, we provide advanced diagnostic services. We have state-of-the-art technology. We have access to advanced cancer treatments through our clinical research programs. And I think the biggest and most important thing is that a lot of people don't know that our cancer center here is in the South Bay. I hear a lot of stories out in the community about our community driving up north to receive cancer care just because they don't know that our cancer center is here. And then we're also working with other organizations in our community to provide breast cancer screenings. We'll be hosting a huge event in October, which will consist of providing free cancer screenings to our community. Moving on to our Women's Center, we recently celebrated our 1-year anniversary for our Women's Progressive Care Unit, which truly focuses on holistic healing for our patients. Recently, another healthcare system announced that they will no longer be providing labor and delivery services in the South Bay. Therefore, Sharp made a huge commitment to expand and invest into our services, making sure that we meet our community needs. That included creating a specific website with information on nurses who were looking to work in the South Bay, in labor and delivery, opportunity for physicians to learn about what we do at our hospital and how they can get practice privileges at our hospital, and then also just information for our overall community to learn about what we do. Now, moving into our ED transformation, which I think is one of the biggest things we're working on right now. Recently, Sharp received a huge state grant to help expand mental health services. Patients experiencing mental health services primarily access services through the emergency department via walk-in or EMS. Therefore, the grant will be used to create our empath unit at Sharp Chula Vista, which will create a more efficient way to treat patients experiencing a mental health crisis by having a dedicated and specialized area and team that will be able to meet their needs. This team will be equipped with the latest mental health crisis best care practices, de-escalation techniques, and experience providing personalized and compassionate care. Sharp Grossmont Hospital implemented this model a couple years ago. Huge success. Overall, the MPAT unit is the cornerstone of our ED for our mental health improvement strategy. This specialized unit will offer immediate psychiatric care, reducing the strain on our general ED and providing patients with focused care they need. The unit is designed to stabilize patients in a safe, calming environment and connecting them with ongoing mental health services. Also, I am hoping that none of you have had to visit our ED recently, but if you have, you might have noticed some changes. We've done some minor changes in the way we do our throughput to help with throughput and eliminate long wait times. However, we are investing in major updates as we go into 2025. Those include design, permitting, construction, and delivery of our new ED, public entrance, remodeling patient reception area, waiting, screening, and admitting desk for improved overall wayfinding and entry experience. We will be relocating and newly remodeling our outpatient retail pharmacy with better accessibility to the main public areas of our hospital. We'll be adding a new triage bays, and we will also be adding new blood draw stations and EKG. Also, we will be remodeling our radiology room as required for our installation of our new X-ray equipment. Our overall goal is to ensure that every patient receives timely, efficient, and compassionate care. This includes meeting more core measures and ensure prompt care. These protocols prioritize the rapid assessment and treatment of patients based on their severity of their conditions, ensuring that those in urgent need receive immediate attention. And this approach will help us manage the ongoing patients that we're seeing year to year. Currently, we are seeing upwards to 250 patients. A couple years ago, we were seeing 200 patients. And then finally, we are expanding our community resource center. So at Sharp Grossmont Hospital, there is a senior resource center, which then transitioned into the community resource center. And as we kind of reorganize our leadership across the system, with the region now including Sharp Grossmont, Sharp Chula Vista, and Coronado, we are expanding our services as well. This community resource center will include Sharp check-in calls, which include discharge calls, 30-day follow-ups for our patients, and resources beyond just our case management. It will also include putting together classes and educational classes out in the community, and that will be done by creating a pool of expert speakers and different topics that we can go out and give presentations at different community events. Also, recently Sharp did some work with their Sharp app, and we will be hosting Sharp app meetings and informational sessions so that people who have questions about the app itself or have any problems accessing some of their information can be helped by setting appointments. And then finally, we are obviously partnering with local organizations in our community to help expand our resources and our education to the community. And finally, just want to thank you guys for your time, and thank you guys for allowing me to present just a brief overall what we're working on. Your thoughts are very much appreciated in your feedback, and I'd love to see or hear if there's any way you guys like to help this out in the community.
Thank you.
So any questions?
So I'm intrigued about your emergency department transformation and the whole state grant for expanding your mental health services. I guess you called it Empath.
Yeah.
So, So is the emergency access to mental health services for those that are in crisis, is it adults, children, youth, everybody
Coming through the ED, yes.
coming through the ED?
Yes,
So they're presenting with the crisis?
yes.
And you have a team there that can just de-escalate, it's open 24/7?
Correct.
My question was along those lines.
Next.
How many beds will your behavioral health?
We have Beverly, who's also on the SHARP team here, and she might help me answer some of these
Yeah.
questions.
I wrote the grant for the empath unit and, we will have 6 recliners in there. So we follow the empath model. So an empath is a model that was designed by, a psychiatrist named Dr. Scott Zeller. And he's also part of the Vitality group, which is also our medical group that provide our emergency services at SHARP. So we're all very well connected and closely connected. So in this design of the empath model, it is recliners versus gurneys, and it is an open space. So it is a private space that's set within the ED. But instead of gurneys, there'll be recliners. It's an open space with tables and chairs. So should they want to get up and work on a puzzle or read a book, or if they want to get up and grab themselves a drink versus having to wait for the nurse, wait for mealtime to get food, they're welcome to get up and go get it. So it gives them like a little bit of freedom. And in the empath model, it does say that with this type model, 75% of patients who present to the emergency department with a mental health crisis are de-escalated within 24 hours, and that way we can eliminate any inappropriate or unnecessary hospital admissions, and that's one of the main goals of the empath. But then we're also able to discharge them to the appropriate outpatient services that they need, or sometimes even to go home. So like on one of the walls, there'll be a whole mural on there. Like I said, it's very different than being in the chaos of the regular ED. Is to get those patients who, again, present with a mental health crisis out of the chaos of the ED and into their own calm setting and to de-escalate whatever is going on. They are able to see a psychiatrist during that time that they're there. And so, as well as, like Sergio said, specially trained nurses and LVNs that are also there to help them.
So will law enforcement be able to take people up if you care?
Do you know, so I'm not really.
Yeah, the emergency
Through the
room,
emergency
yeah,
department,
we all
yeah.
do, it's
So-
just because what's,
Is in need of restraints, they will continue to stay in the regular ED department and level of care and security. This is it's an open space and supplies.
so after 3 years, then the organization will
Correct,
keep it running?
correct.
Nice, we need it.
Oh, yeah.
I just was on a presentation today with Dr. Smith, who is our ED director. He said that most of our patients, teenagers,
Yes.
Okay.
The overall goal is to get as out as much as we can in the community.
I know a few years back, we were one of the, first cities where they have a lot of connections, but Sharp wasn't in there,
Right.
so I think we're.
It's definitely going great. But obviously both sides of things, right?
Yeah.
Things are
Community.
everybody changing there.
Once it
Because we have so many different hospital systems.
well, then the like Tennessee,
And it's great. Or the,
That's a
What's
big
happened
thing.
to
It's
our-
not the local, but also the country.
Yeah.
Next is item 4. Commissioners to their presentation by community outreach representative on elder advocacy and high cap program. Please give him a round.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome.
I'm sitting next to
I
you.
know, right? So my name is Pablo Corona and I'm a community outreach representative for HiCap. which stands for Health Insurance Counseling and Advocacy Program. It's one of the many programs of elder law advocacy. And they provide free legal support for older adults. Just a fun fact, I also was a resident of Chula Vista back in '97. I came from Sweetwater High School and I didn't want to go to Chula Vista High School for my senior year, so, but I love Chula Vista. I got married in 2016 and moved from Chula Vista to Vista, so wish me luck on the commute back to Vista. But just a fun fact, thank you so much. Next slide. So, Elder Law Advocacy is a team of experienced attorneys, staff, and volunteers. Like I mentioned before, we provide free legal services for older adults over the age of 60. There is no income requirement. There's a variety of programs, and we'll see that in just a few moments. We also do, under HICAP, we do free Medicare counseling for seniors and people with disabilities. Our goal is to serve every senior in our region or help them get access to justice. And our program provides the services for not only San Diego County, but Imperial County as well. Next slide. So the Health Insurance Counseling and Advocacy Program focuses its efforts to provide Medicare health insurance counseling for Medicare and dual eligible beneficiaries. We also provide low-income program screening and application assistance for Medicare beneficiaries. We also provide legal assistance for Medicare appeals and billing issues. We have an attorney that specializes in that. That's all he does all day. And then we also do long-term care insurance counseling. HICAP is, I think I skipped the top portion. So HICAP is a state health insurance assistance program, SHIP. But since we're in California and we're cool like that, we've referred to ourselves as HICAPs. But everywhere else in the nation is known as an SHIP program. And so, like I mentioned before, it's a program of elder law advocacy, and it focuses on providing free, unbiased, and confidential services to beneficiaries. Next slide. So we're gonna do a real quick overview for Medicare. This is basically our bread and butter. This is what we focus on, providing our services to people that are new to Medicare, or maybe they've been on Medicare for a while and so they just want to review their benefits. So Medicare is health insurance, federal health insurance for three groups of people. People that are 65 and older, people that are under 65 and receiving Social Security disability insurance, and then people that are of any age with end-stage renal disease. It is a program that is administered by Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, and the eligibility is determined by Social Security Administration. Next slide. The insurance card is the one that you see on the screen is the newest version of it. Is the second version, I believe. The original one was a little bit more basic, and so back in 2018, it was decided that they redesign the card. So this is the current card that's being used. On the previous one, the Medicare number was made up of the beneficiary's Social Security number. So fortunately, that was prone to identity theft and Medicare fraud. So in 2018, they decided to just give like a unique ID on the actual card. That's what you see on the slide. So enrollments for Part A and B, and we'll talk about those in just a second. Enrollment is automatic for people that are already receiving Social Security benefits or Railroad Retirement Board benefits. The initial enrollment period package is normally mailed 3 months prior to the person turning 65 or once they reach their 25th month of disability benefits. Though everyone else that this doesn't apply to, they will need to actively enroll into Medicare by phone, online, or in person. Next slide. So these are the parts of Medicare. There's 4 parts. Part A provides coverage for hospitals, skilled nursing facility, hospice, and home health. Part B provides coverage for doctors, lab tests, durable medical equipment, and outpatient care. Part C is a combination of Part A, Part B, and Part D. And those are more commonly known as Medicare Advantage, like the HMOs, PPOs, and SNP, which stands for Special Needs Plan. And then Part B is prescription drug coverage. And then last but not least, Medigap. These are supplemental plans that a beneficiary can purchase as an option. Next slide. So just real quick, some of the costs. For the majority of people, there's no monthly premium for Part A. For Part B, majority of people do have to pay monthly premium. For this year's $174.70. That amount gets updated yearly. Part C, it depends on the plan. It could range from $0 to $77 monthly premium. Part D for prescription drug coverage, same thing, could be as low as 40 cents monthly premium, all the way to 188.40 cents monthly premium, depending on the plan. And then Medigap, that varies. The plans vary depending on age, and those premiums can vary from $32 all the way to $9. A and B, for step one, the receive their Medicare Advantage, so Medicare contracts with private insurance companies to provide the beneficiaries with their Medicare benefits. Next. Okay. Some enrollment periods. The main one, the most important one is the initial enrollment period for Medicare. They have a 7-month enrollment period, usually surrounded by the 4th month of when they're turning 65, and that's just to give the annual enrollment period, another enrollment period. The annual enrollment period 15th through December 7th. This is the period of time when people, if they need to make a change to their Medicare, this would be the time. Whatever changes are made during this period becomes effective the January 1st of the following year. Next slide. There are some late enrollment penalties. That didn't enroll on time. For there's 10% went without Medicare enrollment, and unfortunately, that's the penalty that needs to be paid as long as they have Medicare. That's just to make that people enroll on time. There is also, but that's only 1%, so it's not as much, but encourage people to enroll on time. Next slide. Here's a quick list of all the screenings, vaccines, and counseling that. Next slide. And then the extra help pays for anything related costs to medication, and it's a program that's the eligibility is determined by Social Security. They have their Medicare as their primary insurance, and then coverage for whatever Medicare doesn't cover. Next slide. All right, so at the end of the presentation, just some tips. Medicare card as if it were a real credit card. Number 2, avoid cold insurance agents. Number 3, summary notice or any kind of related invoices to ensure accuracy of benefits. Number 4, read the fine print on mailed advertisements. And then if any kind of Medicare fraud is suspected, it's always a good track down on Medicare fraud. Next slide. Like about this icon. At the time this image was taken, I think there was a COVID-19 fraud alert, hospice fraud alert, and genetic testing. Next slide. So here's just some of the things that marketing, illegal marketing tactics from insurance agents. So we have on the green side, just showing up, knocking on their door without permission. So just a couple of things that beneficiaries would like to make aware that what insurance agents are supposed to do and what they're not supposed to do. To report, it's always a good idea to call the Consumer Complaint Center. Email, and then of course I will. I'd like to open it up for any questions. Yes.
So you work under the elder law banner,
Yes.
and that, an office in South Bay? Do they have anything in South Bay to go to?
So to answer your question, we don't have an office, an actual physical office in South Bay. We only in Kearney Mesa, right off the 15th on the City Boulevard. That's our main office. After the pandemic, we kind of focused, or during the pandemic, we focused on we continue to provide our services over the phone. So we kind of stepped away from in-person appointments. We're planning on getting back to that, but for now, our major operation is by phone. And then, of course, we also have an office out at the El Centro Courthouse in Imperial, Fort Imperial. So 2 offices.
Do you offer notary services or other things for seniors?
We don't, but our attorneys can provide legal advice about that.
And, do you offer counseling on Medicare Advantage as well as just Medicare?
Yes, we do both, original Medicare and Medicare Advantage.
Okay.
Well, I have a comment. When I turned 65, my girlfriend told me about your organization and I went there because I was so confused getting all these things in the mail, on TV, and it was just so nice to meet with a counselor who could just sit there and show you everything. They don't tell you what to pick, you just ask them the questions, and I found them very helpful, so thank you so much.
I have a question. You mentioned that when someone turns 65 and they don't enroll in one of the Medicare plans, I believe, that then, let's just, and if I understood correctly, let's say they enroll at 70, and they have that 5-year gap, they would be charged a penalty for not enrolling at the age of 65, even if they had, let's say, private insurance between those 5 years?
So there are people out there that they turn 65 and they decide they don't want to retire just yet. So if they're insured by their employer, they can delay without penalty.
They just have to inform the
Right,
state.
Social Security
Social
has to,
Security.
they have to be aware that they're not enrolling once they turn 65, that they continue to, they plan to continue working past their 65th birthday to, and that they're insured by their employer, so that way they can delay the enrollment without.
Thank you.
So that's the situation I'm in.
Okay.
My husband's still working, so we're on his insurance. The only thing is it has to be a certain amount of employees, in order to not be penalized, so that would be something you need to look into. The biggest mistake, and he showed it on the slide, that people make is they don't register for Part D, the prescription, and that can be a lot, and then also that other one that's a penalty. Because both, I think Part B and Part D, those are lifelong penalties.
Yes. That's correct, it has to be considered, in order to delay that, enrollment, the beneficiary needs to be have employer coverage, that's considered as a large employer, I believe it's over 100 employees, to be considered as a large employer.
Will the slides be shared with us?
Yeah.
That's
So
okay.
all the
Great.
slides,
They're
printed.
and contact
No,
information will be
This is
PDF.
too small for
Yeah,
my
some of
eyes,
those
even
not
for
that
the.
clear.
Yeah. But yeah, we can send it via email.
Thank
Oh,
you.
good.
I know that here, girls, like. The downs and the sides and the overs.
Thank you so much for your time.
All right, thank you. Okay, the next item is 4.5, commissioners to review and provide recommendations to survey questions, staff to present the Chula Vista Older Adults and Seniors Housing Support Initiative, which includes the purpose, outcome, and process.
Alright, so that's where I get to jump in. So it should be one of the thicker packets. So just to fill you all in, I'm a part of I manage all the age-friendly and healthy initiatives for the city. And I also work within the Department of Housing and Homeless Services. So this is kind of where this transpired, is intersecting conversations around housing and homelessness with seniors and older adults here in Chula Vista. Because I more recently attended both conferences, the aging conference, and there's acknowledgement and conversations around older adults being at risk for becoming homeless, and then also in the homeless regional task force, they're also acknowledging there is a growing concern for
older adults and seniors who have become unhoused for the first time and what that looks like. Currently right now, the resources are very slim in regards to Section 8 housing, which traditionally has about a 15-year waiting period. And then the other program, I believe it's through Elder Help, which is a rental subsidy. That's short term, it offers about $200 for rental, like a supplement to help with the rent. So the intentions behind this is me brain dumping. So on the first page, it actually has the purpose, the outcomes, and the process. And then behind it is basically a survey with the intentions to share with the general public of like Chula Vista residents, as well as the homeless outreach team who are reaching out to unhoused seniors as well. The goal is to identify what's working, what's not working, what types of resources and the services gaps. And so I just wanted to share this with the commission to see if we can get some input, some insight in regards to the link. A little bit on the longer side, because the lens of this housing situation, like what is the situation, their support, like the full service to, and many seniors, older adults to not for medications because they're spending like of their income folks over there, and then what I've heard right around like a 15-year wait, which I feel with older adults who are on fixed income, 15-year wait, it's sometimes it might be too late.
Yeah.
So that's why I just wanted to kind of engage from at least a community standpoint in Chula Vista first to see like what are older adults, what does that look like, their environment, their homes and all that. Just reality is communities to then maybe look at potential goals and objectives for the commission from that line.
I see that what, who gets it?
So it's gonna be, there's two, send it in paper form, for folks who do come into the housing. So goal is to offer, and then we'll also online as well, Survey Monkey. So completed on the back end when pulling all of the data.
It goes to the city of Chula, it goes on.
Check that. I believe like how we put the reports together, but the goal is to make it very transparent for folks to understand.
Are you asking about privacy though, or are you asking just in general?
Well, privacy, and also there's a consent on the back, so it'd be nice to know who gets this information.
Yeah, so in regards to that, the data points, we do gather the data, it is all anonymous. For folks who want to have follow-up, we do have a section of contact information that's optional. For privacy reasons, yes, that would be completely removed. It'd be the data of the questions itself. And then the consent and confidentiality is basically asking like, hey, we're gonna be taking your data to put into consideration. Long-term wise, it'd be interesting to see what the data comes out and seeing like how this can be brought up to the county level. Senior, like I said, a agreement that it is a concern. So I'm coming from a place of identifying at least and seeing if there's any tangible national partnerships working
for handing out the survey to people that don't come into the housing.
So the goal is shared as much as possible, which is also as well in your respective networks. Norman Park Senior Center is another area. Most of the libraries are usually a good area as well. I know historically paper surveys don't really do well in libraries because they get taken and then they disappear. I think Norman Park is a really good center to give paper surveys because it does come back and they do collect it. So I'm open definitely to y'all is like if there's any recommendations of ways.
Like the PACE centers.
works, let me see.
SoCan and all,
I'm sorry?
SoCan,
Yeah.
South County Action Network.
Yeah,
all
through the
that.
county.
But on the east side, what have you got?
And then I know there's some works that we can probably as well. There's those on the east side. I know there's the I don't know O type.
Oh,
is it
that-
there?
I think.
Yeah. Close and move a lot.
Okay, I haven't been over there in a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where we'll lean in on the libraries to see like what makes the most sense for them to share that.
On this, can we get this digital, because, I have some internal, might be good.
Of course, yeah. So, everything that was presented today on paper form, presentations, contact information will be shared via email to all the commissioners, as well as the folks that presented will have direct contact emails as well.
How long will the survey be open for?
I haven't got that far yet. I think this will just kind of be an ongoing, like at minimum, like for 6 months to just gather as much. But I feel like it should be like an ongoing conversation to just kind of capture. Maybe we can just do like a quarterly check-in and say, here's the results for the last 4 months or 6 months, and then just kind of like figure it out as we go.
I have a question for you, Louise. I know the city of Chula Vista has an affordable housing list, which I provide as a resource quite often. What is the difference between affordable housing and subsidized housing? Is subsidized Section 8, or are they one and the same?
I will be honest, I don't know. Yeah, I know affordable housing, because I don't handle the housing. I know there's like formulas and criteria to that, so I don't know, but I can get the answer for you between the differences between, you said affordable versus
Which is
subsidized.
subsidized,
Okay.
yeah. I didn't know if that was all encompassing, or if that was Section 8 on the subsidized or not, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, that's a whole nother ballpark. We have a couple of different teams in the housing.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that you have the list though, 'cause
Yes.
I share that a lot.
Just at a quick glance, and knowing that we want this to be a city of Chula Vista information, that you're surveying those that live in our zip codes, so you may wanna add zip codes, where all they have to do is just check it off.
Yeah.
You know, the zip code, so that if they don't live in the zip code, then it's not applicable,
Okay.
right? Cause this might go who knows where, and you might have other folks from other zip codes that are not representing Chula Vista,
Yeah.
fill this out, and then you have ambiguous data.
So we can do the zip code. There's also another strategy I've seen, which is just, are you part of Chula Vista? Like, are you Chula
Are you a
Vista
resident of Chula
Yes or
Vista?
no, and if it's no, we can just
Yeah.
divert them.
Perfect. Or if you wanted to use the zip codes and do your analysis of where they are versus just, like, if that's just another layer
Yeah,
of,
so it would be
where they
yes
are.
and then zip code. Or if yes, what zip code?
and then I would just I would just list all the zip codes and you just check it.
I
The
will
easier the
have to
better.
double check how many zip codes we have in Chula
I
Vista.
don't think we have that many, do we?
911, you do now.
9 and 4,
Five.
3, 5.
1-5.
Anyway,
Okay.
good
I
for
think
that.
not that many.
Right.
Yeah.
Cause it's one thing to, market that you are and then identify the zip code, cause then maybe it's a west, east, or like, what part
North,
of
south.
it, where are these, like, you have income here, you have like a lot of stuff that you can layer and get
So
really,
there's districts as well. We can also look, from a district standpoint, and that's something we can incorporate as well. Some people don't know their districts though, but
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
you can actually maybe inform them district and these other zip
District
codes.
one with the
Like
zip
District
codes,
one and then,
District
yeah.
two,
Okay.
and if you have issues, this is a
Especially
council
with the
member you
recent
go to.
changes.
Anyway,
Cool, thank you.
So is it only gonna be in English?
It's gonna be in English and Spanish. Traditionally, I think those are the two primary languages here, that we've had both in both languages. And then usually for paper form, if it's printed, we do try to be age friendly as well, so it's traditionally 12-point font, if not bigger.
thank you.
Alright.
So are there any staff comments?
Other than that, no. Thank you y'all for your help and assistance on this.
In regards to the chair comments, thank you everyone for being here today. I know it's really hard for us to get a quorum and get here. I do feel that we have really learned a lot today. Thank you for that survey. I want to remind everyone, please make sure that you review it and give your feedback to Emily so we can help her out. Do any of the commissioners, are there any commissioner comments?
I do have a comment, and it's partially based on me and partially based on comments from other people, that people tend to talk very quietly in here. Some people have had a hard time hearing things, especially some of the women's voices tend to be really high up, and I don't know whether we need a microphone or we need to just remind people to talk loudly and slowly.
We can do both. Yeah, I think, if volume is a concern, we can definitely look into getting a speaker, microphone, yes. Microphone and speaker, for folks who don't project as well, but I do understand, especially with the different tones, when it's higher pitched, it's harder to hear, versus the lower, it's easier. So we'll definitely keep that in mind for future presentations.
I'd like to hear an update for a future meeting on the homeless shelter. I've been hearing that it's underused, and if so, what's the reason?
What homeless shelter?
The tiny homes
the
or
tiny
whatever.
Oh, the tiny
It's on
homes.
Main Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I
I've been curious.
was curious about
That'd
that.
be a good update.
Okay, and that's something that we can also do, sorry, thinking out loud right now. I know previously there's been joint special meetings, so I know there's the Homeless and Housing Advisory Council. So they do meet as well, so there's a potential to see if we can do a joint one, if there's any additional information around the shelters or something, because I know occasionally they'll do some presentations around that. But for the future one, I can see if we can coordinate the hot team to kind of come through and maybe just share about what they've been up to in regards to the outreach, and then also the shelter, the tiny homes or tiny.
Also, I'd like a response to the member of the public that talked about things not being posted properly or noticed properly.
Yes.
Maybe we could have some feedback on what the clerk is doing and how that's working or not working.
Is it in our preview?
I think notice to the public is a part of every commission, so we need to know what's being noticed.
There should be protocol.
Yeah, there is, and I think there what was mentioned was there's discrepancies in the process of where things are being in the conversation between a physical notice versus a digital. So I can clarify what the process is with city clerk. And then bring that back.
I've looked on the website, and I know people who've looked on the website, things are not published, are not there, the new stuff is wrong, and I've had people contact me to say, why is this meeting not here or there?
Yeah.
So it impacts our public.
No, I'm not questioning it. I just, as a commissioner,
Oh, right.
are we able to speak about it?
Well, just have information about it, yeah.
I can only clarify and bring that back.
Maybe just what the process is.
Yeah.
Because if it's supposed to go to one place and people don't know about it and it's going to another place, I mean, is there a consistent place that it should be at?
And we can direct people to that.
I think,
Yeah.
or maybe the request is, what is the policy and protocol
Right.
in regards to commission meetings
Right.
being posted versus online or on calendar? I
Social
think that's the
media,
question
like
posed,
more
right?
And how is that working?
We might get more
Yeah,
people
'cause
coming if they see it on social media.
if anyone asks me, I just always go to the commissioner thing and I look at the, that specific commission and get the information there, but again, it's not always.
You have to click through a lot of things to get to it,
Yes,
so it's not
yes,
user friendly.
yes.
But back to, what is the policy and the protocol, and is it being, so that's one, and is it being followed? And if it's not, what is the recommendation moving forward.
Yeah.
You gotta go chunk it, you gotta chunk it,
Yeah.
you know, so.
Put it in steps. All right, anything else?
One more thing.
Yes.
So, speaking about surveys, I do have an evaluation form, optional if you would like to, evaluate my presentation. And then I do have flyers as well. And then one last thing, as my mom is a resident of Chula Vista, I do have a comment on the website to pay for the sewage services. The website was down for a couple of days. So it started working today, so she eventually paid her bill. But that's just a comment on the Chula Vista website.
All right, it is 5:51 PM, and I'm adjourning this meeting to the next regular Health, Wellness, and Aging Commission meeting on July 11, 2024 at 4:30 PM.
If I already know I'm not.
Thank you.
I'm out of town that day.
Okay.
I'll let.
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry, when it's commissioner comments and I make a comment, other people tell me it's out of order. And so like everybody's gotta learn that only the commissioners, but if nobody says anything and you're going outside the meeting, it's all recorded, it just doesn't look good. It's all procedure.
okay, Robert, you troublemaker.
It's called Robert's Rules, right? You know?
Robert's rule for Robert.
When I was a kid, my mom took me to PTA conventions.
Oh.
And I would go to the Robert's Rules meetings, so I'm a parliamentary procedure type of guy.
Thank you all, have a good day.
All right, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Gotta help me.
I was only 47 cents. I was cracking up. It's like, I feel like, wow, I've been on it for a half now, and the first round is like $37 a month. And then, okay.
Excuse me.
And then do I get this back now?
Yeah, and then fill the bucket. Yeah, I'm not going anyway, this is just like, it's going on.
So are you staying on the commission? Are you staying on the commission?
Yeah, I'll stay on the commission because I'm resident of
Right.
Chula. That was really nice.
I can't believe that.
I'm 66 and a half. I planned it so I could get my social security.
Oh, sure, Tim.
So what's gonna, are they gonna fill your role?
The gal in my office, she is gonna pick up part of it and really
See you later.
Have a good day.
You too. And maybe more focus on South Bay, instead of, I was all over the place before. So I would say coming up.
So she'll just take it over.
She'll take it up. Her name's Linda Spence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll look out for her.
Thank you, thank you. She's trying to figure out what areas that she wants to pick up, because she's still not been doing, you know, it's really a little, just in the building and
Yeah.
doing all that.
Well, I'm glad I get to keep seeing you.
Got a packet for the other
I'll
one?
see you next week there. All right.
It's
take
6
care.
Congratulations.
I know.
So much.
It's what we all aspire
I
to.
got it. So I got the backup straight right there, right in, just in case I gotta set up.
Today, what's today, the 13th?
That's what happens when we're I don't know what day.
No.
Ruthless.
Oh, Emily, I can tell you right now, I can't attend the next one because I will be out of town on the 11th, so, do you want me to email you or?
Yes.
I'll
Yeah,
just-
just email me, any, the usual, you know.
Oh, you can't talk.
Y'all, you guys are all just gonna police each other. You're like, if I can't talk, nobody's talking.
We were just trying to be fair with each other, you know? And when he realized what I was doing, he was like, oh, I'm not playing this game with this guy, he's too smart. And I was like, oh, man.
We're there.
He's used to being the chair, though, you know?
This wasn't a fit for me, but I'm impressed.
Alright, well,
Thank you so much. I'll get back to you. I appreciate it.
Yes, of course. Appreciate your feedback, as always. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you. All right, everybody. I'm running. I got cables everywhere.